Hi, I'm Kara McNall, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And I came across this card on YouTube from Anne's Happy Stampers from the UK, and I was really impressed with her card, and I thought I would give it a try. In this card, she used rose red and garden green for the coloring, and what she did was use the Wink of Stella. So today I'm going to change it up, and my colors will be Elegant Eggplant, Always Artichoke, and Daffodil Delight. So let's get started. The stamp set we're going to be using today is the Stampin' Up! Birthday Blooms, and we'll be using the flower and Happiest of Birthdays and the little dots here. So what we'll do is we'll do all of our stamping first, and we'll bring in a piece of Whisper White, and this is cut 3 1/4 by 5 inches, and we're going to heat emboss this with gold embossing powder. So we'll just take our embossing buddy and we'll just clean off all the static, and I'll bring in my tub of embossing powder, get that ready, and then we're going to ink up our stamp set, and we're going to take the flower, and I'm just going to take the Versamark ink right to the stamp. Make sure it's inked up really well. Today it's a very hot and humid day in Vermont, so hopefully the stamping will come out pretty good. And what you want to do is you're going to want to bring this over as high as possible and as far to the left as possible. So we'll just stamp this down, hold it for a few seconds, and just lift up. Okay, you can kind of see it. Oh, I can see it. I'm not sure if you can see it. So then our next image, what we'll bring in is the Happiest of Birthdays. Now, I haven't tried this one yet, so I'm not really sure if it's going to fit. Hopefully it will. So we'll just ink up that stamp. And I'm just going to stamp it down here in the lower right corner. And it's okay if it goes off the edge just a little bit. Hopefully I'll get it straight. Okay, well, that looks pretty good. And now what we're just going to do is we're going to use this little stamp that has the little dots, and we're going to just put dots throughout the card just to fill in the white space. And I like to do an odd number. It's just the way I do it. Okay, so we've got it all inked up, stamped with our Versamark, and we'll bring in the gold embossing powder here. And you're going to want to be really careful because you don't want to smudge the ink on here because it is really hard to see. So I'll just take a spoonful of the embossing powder and just run it across here. It's going to take me a couple of times to do this because the images are so big and they're scattered throughout. Now what you could do is stamp one image and then heat emboss it and then do the other images, but I chose to do them all at once for me to be easier. And it just looks like I just need a little bit more up here. Okay, it looks like we're all set. There is a few smudges here, so I'm going to try to blow on it to get it off. So I did remove some excess powder, but I'm going to just take a paintbrush here and just to get this off, because if you leave it on, it's going to just show a little bit of splatter. Okay, so now we're just going to get my heat tool hot, and what we're going to do is we're going to heat this up and heat set the gold embossing powder. So it'll just take a minute or two. I like to stay in one area until that is heat set and move on to the next area. I'll bring this up a little bit closer to see. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see all the magic happening. Okay, starting right now where it's changing from the powder to the gold. Okay, now I'll just do the dots. You got to be careful because the paper does get hot, especially if you're going to be heat embossing quite a bit. Once your heat gun is pretty hot, it will go pretty fast. And I'm just using the Whisper White, so it should go fairly quickly now. What you don't want to do is miss an area, because if you miss an area, then you're not going to have that outline. Okay, we're just going to shut this off and just take a look here, make sure I got all the areas that I want. And it looks like it's all good and heat set. Actually, maybe one more area on the H, just make sure. Okay, that should be good enough. Okay, so our next thing we want to do is we're going to watercolor with our Wink of Stella pen. So we'll bring that, get some of this stuff out of the way. And first what we're going to do is start with the center of the flower. So I've chosen Daffodil Delight for that. And what we want to do is just take our Wink of Stella and make sure there's enough in the barrel. You don't need a lot, but just a little bit. And you're just going to color in the area that you want. And I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. Okay, so that's pretty good right now. The next color, we'll close this ink up and we'll move on to the Elegant Eggplant. Let's open up our tray here. This is a pretty dark color, so I haven't tried it, so it's a great experiment here. So once you got to make sure that your Wink of Stella pen is clean before you move to another color. So we'll just grab a little bit of it. Okay, and we're just going to color in the rose, being very careful not to color in a leaf by accident. I've done that before because it's a little tricky on some of these, on the petals. They look like petals for the flower, but they can be taken as a leaf as well. So right now I'm just filling this in, and I'll go back and try to get some more detail where I think I want it a little bit darker, like right in here. So again, I am trying to go as fast as I can. So again, I want some dark in this area. And you can push the ink as well. See, I'm pushing it over here where it's pretty light. And the Wink of Stella is just adding that glitter and glimmer to your card, and it's very stunning in person. At the end, I'll show you the card I made based on Anne's card using Rose Red and Garden Green. And again, the Daffodil Delight for the middle. I'm getting there. We'll be switching our next color. If you're following along and want to know the next color, it will be Always Artichoke. Okay, so it looks like I got the big flower done. So now we're just going to go in and do the smaller flowers. These won't take too long. Again, I'll go as quick as I can. Be careful to try to stay in the lines as best as you can. A lot of times you just let the pen do the job and just guide it along. And these are just little buds here, so I'll color those in with the Elegant Eggplant. And one over here. Okay, so I'll just take a look at it, make sure I've got everything. Looks good. So now we're going to clean out our pen again. I'm just using a tissue. And now we're done with the elegant eggplant. And now we're going to bring in the always artichoke for all the leaves. And then these little bit of stems here, I gotta color those in. We don't want to leave them white. Not sure if you can hear the crickets. I'm filming at night, so it's about 85 degrees here in my craft room. Today it was probably about 95 degrees in Vermont. Towards the end of September, it's usually not this hot. So we're not really enjoying it. We're on a heat wave at the end of September usually. It's about mid-60s and great fall foliage. And right now the fall foliage is looking a little brown. Hopefully it'll get better towards the end of the week. It's supposed to be back to normal in the 60s. Okay, so we're almost done. So what you're going to want to do next, you could let this dry overnight, or you can again take your heat tool and heat set it. So the part that's not going to heat set is the ink on top of that gold embossing powder. That will not dry. So what you'll have to do is take a tissue and just dab it, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, it looks like we're good to go. Just take, actually I missed one little spot right here. And just one more quick look. Okay, looks like it's done. So let me just clean this off and I'll bring it up closer to the camera here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lot of glimmer Stella from that. So what we're going to do now is put away the ink pad here because we're all set with that. And we're going to heat set this. So I'll turn on the tool again and I'll make some noise, but it'll be the easiest way to do this. Like again, I said earlier, it's very humid, so hopefully this will dry accordingly. It's kind of hard to tell because it's so glimmery if it's dry or not, but hopefully it is. So I'll turn this around so you can see it better. Okay, again, that's what it looks like. It's very, very, very glittery. So I'm going to take a tissue and I'm just going to dab it because we want to get the ink off of the embossed image, or else you're going to create a heck of a mess. See, there's just not a lot coming off, but you got to make sure you get it off that embossed part, or else it's gonna transfer over. I did a card earlier. I'll bring it in, and when I flipped it over, you can see here it made such a mess. I didn't dry it, so I had to start over again. So we're almost done here. Okay, so now let's put our card together. We're going to layer this piece on a piece of Wisteria Wonder, and this is cut 4 by 5 1/4. And I'll just take my adhesive and run it around all 4 sides. You'll notice that the Whisper White does warp a little bit, but if you just add enough adhesive, and I'll just put a little bit in the middle as well. And then what we're going to do is just put this on this panel here, 1/4 inch on all 4 sides. And I'm just going to tap this lightly. I'm going to flip it over and just press from the back side, just in case some of that was still wet. Okay, that looks good. So the next step we're going to do is, I've got some leftover gold. I don't even know what this is. Got it in the holiday almost a year ago, but I'm just using up some of my stash. I think it's gold thread. So I wanted to carry the gold, add a little bit of something else to the card. So I'm just going to take a piece of tape to the back side, and I'm just going to run like 3. And then another piece of tape. And just tape it down, and we'll just use our snips to cut this off. Now you could add this to your card base with the dimensionals, but I'm just going to use adhesive. So I've got my card base here is Elegant Eggplant, and it's cut 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. And we'll just take our adhesive again on this side. And I'll just add it to the card front. Then I'm just going to go a bit easier this way. Okay, so that's the front of the card. Now on the inside of the card, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the flower stamp here, and I'm going to ink that up using Elegant Eggplant. And I'm just going to put the flower down in the corner here. And then what we'll do also is take that little dot stamp just for a little bit of added interest. Again, I use odd numbers. And then we'll add that to the inside of our card. And again, I always do my envelopes the same way, so make sure you always stamp your envelopes. I think it's just an added attraction to your card. And so here's the version with Elegant Eggplant and Wisteria Wonder, and I'll bring back in that other card, which Anne did, using Rose Red and Garden Green. So I hope you enjoyed this card today. For all your stamping needs, please visit my online store, Inspired by Graham. Any questions, please leave a comment below. Thank you, and have a great day.